Want to improve your English without boring lessons? Listening to real stories like this one is the easiest and most fun way to learn. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss one of our daily stories. Her name was Lila, and she was in Rome for the weekend. She had always wanted to visit the city, old streets, famous buildings, and pizza on every corner. But this time, she decided to do something different. No phone, no GPS, just one small paper map in her backpack. She wanted to see if she could explore the whole city the old-fashioned way. Early in the morning, she left her hotel. The air was warm. The sky was soft and golden. The map in her hands looked simple, maybe too simple. It showed the streets like a puzzle, with names she couldn't pronounce. Her plan was to walk to the Colosseum first. She looked at the map, turned it 3 times, and started walking. At first, everything was fine. The streets were quiet, the buildings tall and colorful. Small cars moved past slowly. She followed a narrow road past a bakery and 2 cafes, then turned left. After 10 minutes, she was lost. The map didn't show the little street she had taken. She stopped and looked around. A woman walked by holding flowers. A child chased a ball into the street. Lila stood still, trying to find her place again. But she didn't panic. It's part of the adventure, she thought. She walked toward a small piazza with a fountain in the middle. She sat on the edge of it and opened the map again. She looked at the signs on the walls and matched them to the paper. There it was, Via della Palma. She had found it. Now she knew where she was, and she could start moving again. She passed old churches and quiet courtyards. At one corner, she saw a group of tourists pointing up at a building. She looked too. A small stone face was carved into the wall. It looked serious, like it was watching everything. She smiled and kept going. After some time, the streets opened up. She walked through a large arch, and suddenly there it was, the Colosseum, even bigger than in pictures. She stood there for a while, looking up at the ancient walls. It was hard to believe people had built it so long ago, with no machines, just hands and stone. She didn't go inside. The line was long, and she didn't want to wait. Her goal was not to visit every place. It was to move through the city with just a map. Next, she wanted to find the Spanish Steps. It looked close on a map. She folded the paper carefully and headed north. Rome felt alive. Vespas zipped past. People spoke loudly, laughing and waving their hands. The smell of pizza and garlic floated through the air. She walked for nearly half an hour, sometimes checking the map, sometimes just guessing. Once or twice, she had to backtrack, but that was okay. She ended up in a small square with an artist painting the city. He used soft colors, and his hands moved like they had done this 1,000 times. She stood and watched him for a minute. He didn't look up. Then, she turned a corner and saw the famous steps. Wide, white, and full of people sitting and talking. Lila climbed halfway up and sat down. She took out the map again and smiled. "I'm actually doing this," she whispered to herself. She stayed on the steps for a while, resting her legs. Later, she followed her map toward the river. She found the Tiber and walked along its edge. The water moved slowly. There were boats, birds, and old bridges. She even saw a man playing the violin under one bridge. The sound echoed across the water. By late afternoon, she was hungry. She looked at her map and found a small street with a pizza symbol. She followed it and soon arrived at a tiny place with 4 tables outside. She sat, ordered a slice, and drank cold water. As she ate, she looked at the map again. She had walked more than she expected. The lines on the paper had turned into real places, sounds, and smells. The final place she wanted to visit was the Trevi Fountain. She checked the map one last time and set off again. It took longer than she thought. She made 2 wrong turns. At one point, she ended up in a quiet alley with laundry hanging from windows. But then she heard the sound of water, loud and rushing. She turned the corner, and there it was. The fountain was bright, crowded, and beautiful. Statues stood over the water like gods watching the earth. People were throwing coins into it. She didn't have a coin left, but that didn't matter. She had found her way there, step by step, with only a piece of paper. As the sky turned pink and the lights came on, Lila sat by the fountain and looked at her wrinkled map. It had lines drawn in pencil, circles, and a few coffee stains. It had taken her through the heart of Rome. That night, back at the hotel, she didn't feel tired. She felt proud. No apps, no screens, just a map, her eyes, and her feet. And a whole day she would never forget. You just learned so much English without even realizing it. Past tenses, travel phrases, and everyday vocabulary. That's the power of stories. When you feel the story, the language stays with you. If you enjoyed this one, like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more. We post new stories every day. And tell us in the comments, where should Lila go next with just a map?